Welcome to this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, the podcast we chart the cinematic legacy of the classic monsters. I'm John Campbell. With me, as always, Brendan Jones.
Hello, John Campbell. Hello, listeners. And I want to say right off the bat, as I often love to say things right off the bat, I don't want you, our listeners, to fall under the same trap that I did. John is very often vague in saying what we'll watch the next week. He'll give a title, and I'll go, fine, I'll look that up.
Yeah.
I watched it last night.
Mm-hmm.
Signed up for a free trial on Paramount Plus.
Yes, that's also where I watched it, because that is the only place to stream it. Very good quality. This looked nice in high def.
It did. But the problem being, this was not, as I expected, this was not a Bob Seger biopic.
I know, yeah. Sorry about that.
And this also had nothing to do with the Lone Ranger, except for one throwaway reference. So I feel cheated.
Yeah. Working on the night moves.
Oh, he always is.
Yeah.
Him and his Silver Bullet Band.
That is one of my dad's all-time favorite bands. So I've heard a lot of Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band in my time. That was often what my dad was blasting in the car.
He earned his place in the classic rock hierarchy. There's some great songs, and Night Moves is a fucking awesome song.
Yeah, that was my dad's favorite for sure.
I woke last night to the sound of thunder.
Yeah.
How far off? I sat and wondered.
It's good stuff.
I started humming a song from 1962.
That's
Ain't
the
it funny
one.
How the Night Moves.
That's the one I remember the most, because that was the one that I liked the most for sure of that discography there or whatever.
Yes, it's discography.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, it also goes the other way. As far as I know, Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band have never fought werewolves. As far as I know.
God damn, what a missed opportunity, though, right?
I know. You'd think that they would be unstoppable against a horde of werewolves.
They are literally the Silver Bullet Band, which
if you
says
aim
to
Bob
me,
Seger's band at a bunch of werewolves, they're going down.
that's what it is. I assume they're
Everett McGill.
I assume they're all packing silver-plated revolvers loaded with silver bullets.
Yep.
Also,
yep, absolutely.
Look, maybe make more than one silver bullet if you're going to face a werewolf. I don't know. These are suggestions. It works out in this movie, but that's a dangerous strategy.
You bring up a very good point on this film.
Silver Bullet is the movie we're talking about from 1985. Oh, I'm sorry. We've been saying Silver Bullet. Sorry. The actual title is Stephen King's Silver Bullet.
Is this one where literally that is the full title?
That is the full title. It's on the poster, and it is what comes up on screen when you watch this movie.
And yet on IMDb, it's under Silver Bullet. But you're right. It does on the poster and on screen say Stephen King's
Silver Bullet. Hollywood loves to put Stephen King's on something, even if it has nothing to do with what he wrote in the famous, go ahead, everybody, and look up the Lawnmower Man lawsuit that Stephen King filed against New Line Cinema saying, please take my name off this piece of shit. It has nothing to do with my work.
It really doesn't. That short story. And
he won that case. He 100% won that case, and it's no longer called Stephen King's Lawnmower Man.
But I will say this, Stephen King, undeniably, for the rest of time, one of the greatest horror authors that will probably ever be. Obviously, one of the most successful authors, full stop.
I mean, he's got to be in the running at possibly number one for the most selling books, right?
Yeah, sure. Bible and Harry Potter and then Stephen King.
I think it's got to be, right? It just.
Oh, very, very much so in the running. But what I'll say is,
we've talked about it before a little bit.
I know, and we probably will again. Oh, in fact, I know we will, because we're going to go back to Salem's Lot. Soon.
Yeah, we'll take a return to Salem's Lot.
But I'll say this man and film adaptations, whether for feature film or television, the ratio is so bad. The good ones you can really count on like one hand.
Well, and also it is high highs and low lows, because some of those adaptations are some of the best horror movies ever made. You have something like The Shining, right? But then you also have...
Yeah, but that's a very small ratio.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like there are high highs and there are low lows. Some of the worst horror movies ever made.
Yes.
Ever catch what is it, Skinwalkers? No. What's the
Skinwalkers with the cats.
Yeah, is it Skinwalkers? That's not right.
No,
'cause that's
Sleepwalkers.
Sleepwalkers. I think it's Sleepwalkers.
Yeah.
Unwatchable. Absolute garbage.
Sleepwalkers and Dreamcatchers.
Dreamcatcher.
Yeah,
I
butt
fucking
weasels.
I saw Dreamcatcher in the theater,
Shit
man.
weasels.
I was so excited for Dreamcatcher because it had such prestige. It was Lawrence Kasdan. That cast
great
is
cast,
fantastic.
great adaptation. I mean, great adapter.
Yeah. But
so
boy,
the
I hated
problem,
that.
one of the problems I think is so many of his things, though they continue to be adapted, so many of his things were adapted in the 80s because he was hot from the 70s on. So a lot of those adaptations, like this one in 85, were all happening around this period where they could get the rights fairly cheap, and even though it was a Stephen King named thing, very often the money wasn't there. Very often these are cheap movies, and that's a shame. This one actually has a screenplay by him, and it's pretty good. It's a pretty good. It feels like a Stephen King story. And actually, the things I have the problem with here is not about the cast. It's a really good cast,
Really
of
good cast.
solid character people.
I was gonna say it'd been a while since I remember liking this movie, but watching it again, I'm like, holy shit, this thing
You're
is
like,
just
oh my god, look at here, and no, look at
Well, yeah,
all these
now
faces.
I saw this as a kid, so now older me, where I'm going, oh shit, Everett McGill and Lawrence Tierney and Terry O'Quinn,
Yep.
and, Bill Smitrovich, one of my absolute favorite character actors. I love Smitrovich. Like,
It's all these really good people, and the script is solid. I actually think the fault for this movie, right off the bat before we get into it, I don't think the direction is good. This is pretty weak.
I agree.
And the score is horrible. The
score is
horrible.
so ill-fitting, and
Yeah,
man,
there are parts where it's literally mimicking Jaws theme, like right off the bat, and you're like going, "Dude, maybe don't announce everything this
it is."
ham-fistedly."
And the other thing though is then it has this real kind of tinkling sort of ambling,
right whenever it's not doing the
like this wants to be a Spielberg movie, right? Like that's the sense I got, is they're trying very hard.
That's an uncomfortable thing here, is that it's just like the original story. It is very centered on a boy, his sister. It's a kid-focused horror film.
Yeah.
So this movie can't make up its mind. It really does feel almost like it could be like a Stand By Me coming of age thing, and there's a really good family bond thing that's working here, but they don't shy away from the gore and of course the language that Stephen King is prone to do.
This you'll never hear from me. All right, this is a rare statement for me.
Oh, I think I know where you're going.
They needed to tone down the violence. This movie would have been better as a PG-13, and I think it would have captured more of the audience it wants to if this was aimed at the 12 and up set.
Exactly. And if you're doing like an Our Town kind of future narrator, like or To Kill a Mockingbird, I'll never forget that summer when I was 12. If you're gonna do that,
I would argue just X all that.
Well, I'd X all that, but if you wanted to keep that, because that does suggest I am telling a fable of my youth, then that is a more family-oriented or child-oriented thing. And so that part is think also jarring.
It needed somebody with a Spielberg mindset, not a horror mindset. By the way, this is the only feature theatrically released film by this very TV director.
Oh, it feels TV.
Yeah, it really does. That is the problem, because I do think this is the thing. I like this movie, but I agree with everything you're saying it's hampered by, because I think the script is good and I think the actors are good. But yeah, and also I agree with producer Dino De Laurentiis, who was apparently quite disappointed by the werewolf when they actually got the wolf makeup, and he was like, "The fuck?"
Yeah.
By the way,
I would say if that's what you ended up with, and there was no chance to redo it.
Okay, wait a minute. I just looked up this director. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
You need to keep it in shadow.
Yeah,
because anytime
and they do
it gets
for a lot of
direct,
for the whole beginning sequence, they do. a lot.
Yeah,
which is
they
great.
do.
They're great.
And a clawed hand, a furry clawed hand is fine, but man, when that thing is in light, oh god, this is not a good makeup.
So So this guy is a very accomplished TV director, Dan Adius. Still directing to this day. He directs on the Showtime series Billions. He's done a bunch of Homeland. He's done some. I know you're a big fan of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. He's done some of that.
Well, then, and all of those things I like.
I mean,
so,
this guy
in other
directed
words,
multiple episodes of The Wire.
Then stay in TV.
Yeah,
and
Alias,
maybe
6 Feet Under. Really
we
good
are talking
TV
about
director.
1985, and most of the things you're mentioning that we all like are from around this period. So this could be early.
Well, but I'll tell you what got him this job.
Please tell me
He
right
was
now.
the second assistant director on E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
There you go.
He's a Spielberg guy, and they wanted, I think, a Spielberg-esque dude, right? Because he also was the second assistant director on the Spielberg segment of Twilight Zone, the movie, as well. So I think they liked his, and he was an assistant director to Coppola before that. So
okay,
I think they like
bumps
that.
up against his mentor's stuff. It bumps up against it, but he does not.
No, you can see
does not have those.
And you
chops.
see this a lot from the '80s, where they're trying to capture that Spielberg thing, and all it makes me go is realize, fuck, Spielberg is just that good. It's a, it's a thing you can mimic him in every way, but you can't capture that spark of genius that he has there, that he just knows where that camera needs to be. He knows where that lighting needs to land. It's just...
And I think most importantly, he also just knows tone. He just knows how to... He knows how to take something seemingly mundane, relatable, suburban, and then turn it either fantastic, like with sci-fi, or horrific, like Poltergeist or something like that. Yeah, we know he directed it, but
I'm 100% in that camp as well. I know there are people who are like, no, it's just like,
or very strongly co-directed.
Feels so Spielberg when you watch it, but
he
that tone really works. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
it never feels clunky because he knows somehow the way to organically move an outrageous shift into a story like
this movie opens with a guy's head being torn off and thrown through the air, and then it goes to this like, I'm a kid
but
in a
before that,
it's in a small town. Right? Yeah. It's
Do you know that something's in the bushes? Here it comes. It's going to kill him.
It's like they're going. We want to do a Spielberg movie, but we're just going to jam Jaws and E.T. together.
Yep.
And call that a
really
movie.
Did. It's all like, very clumsily slammed together.
And I put a lot of that on the direction more so than I put it on King's script, which, like I said, I think actually is pretty tight for the most part.
It really is, and at least it is structured, feels the way he does a story. So it takes time to try to introduce you to relationships, town, all these various personalities, which are they're thinly sketched. I mean, we know, that's the town bad guy. That's the town drunk.
But I think that all works here because it's also brisk. It moves. I mean, that's one thing that this movie has over a lot of the stuff we've done. This is a well-paced movie. If it has tone problems, the pacing's pretty good. And also it's coming from, a 120-page novelette, as they say. So
which really this movie needed to have a makeup artist that could bring to life Bernie Wrightson.
I was just looking at this on Amazon, going, I need to buy a copy of this, if only for the Bernie Wrightson illustrations.
I remember. I mean, because one thing you can read that thing in 20 minutes.
But
you'll be gazing at those. Illustrations.
One of the greats
Bernie
of all time.
Wrightson, R.I.P. Man, that guy was a giant.
Not only one of the greats of all time, but also one of the great monster artists of all time in particular.
All time. I have his illustrated Frankenstein, which if you people want to see what the films have never given us, look at that shit.
Dude, I'm still fingers crossed that someday Guillermo del Toro gets to make his Frankenstein movie, because I know that's his undying passion project.
That would be a perfect fit. But we should jump back a bit, because we certainly did dive right in. But let's talk poster.
Let's talk about poster, which specifically was brought up by the filmmakers as being part of the reason this movie wasn't successful. They felt
Really?
the marketing department made, as they described them, uninspired posters.
Well, simple. Yeah.
It's better than
I don't
some,
think it's
though.
a bad poster.
No.
It's just simple.
I do love it. It's very like old horror movie. So it's basically just like this kind of small town street with trees, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And fog.
Yeah.
And then through the trees we can see the full moon with some with a little bit of cloud cover in front of it.
Yeah, almost the entire poster is just shadowy black night, and so you only see light coming through some trees at the bottom there, silhouette, fog, and then above the trees you see a full moon. That's the entire illustration.
I don't
There's
mind
no
this.
werewolf in it, but of course you know what they're getting at.
Yes. I mean, they make that abundantly clear with the Silver Bullet logo with the shimmering bullet as the eye in Silver Bullet, which I like that logo.
I like the logo just fine.
And Stephen King's.
Read the tagline.
Oh,
there,
and the
John.
tagline really needs to be read in, "It started in May, in a small town, and every month after that, whenever the moon was full, it came back."
Yeah.
Right, it has that. It like I said, just reading the tagline, there's a tone that you read that in your mind, which is what I was trying to give it there. And then they in classic '80s movie fashion, then we got a double dip, right?
Yeah, I know.
Now let me ask this. Okay, I'll read this, which is under the title. It says Stephen King Silver Bullet. Then it says, "He makes evil an event." Is that referring to Stephen King?
I think so.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird.
Yeah,
because I'm like, that's
weird.
not. They're not talking about the werewolf.
Though I guess it could be read both ways, because yes, the idea of, well, once a month,
which
that
they
guy
kind
makes
of abandon though.
an event.
Because one of the things I like about the novel is it's broken into 12 chapters of the 12 months of the
Right.
what is
The cycle
of the werewolf, which is probably a better title.
Yeah.
It is, actually. I mean, Silver Bullet is a good title in general.
It's a good title, and it's not totally just
Yeah.
a lame, like, well, that's what kills the thing, because
Right.
there's also the tie-in with the kids, motorized
which is kind of,
chair.
though, like, it's kind of ironic that he already had a chair called Silver Bullet and then meets a
It's
werewolf.
highly ironic.
Yeah, it almost seems like he should have named it that after there was a werewolf.
It seems almost like a writer just being clever.
Yeah, it is something King can sometimes be too clever.
On the nose.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing where it's like sometimes you can read Stephen, and once again, I am loath to besmirch the man ever because he's a genius and has written some of my favorite books ever, but there are times where I read the book and I go, oh, I can just picture him grinning at his keyboard going,
oh, yeah.
Pretty good, Steve. Pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes as you read it, you can actually hear him patting himself on the back.
But the thing that saves it is whenever you see him interviewed, the guy doesn't have much ego or pretension on him.
No.
Will call out the shit that he's done.
Yeah.
Which I love. I do. He's very self-deprecating and like, well, that fucking didn't work. Like, I mean, he'll tell you Dreamcatcher was written when he was hopped up on pain pills from his van accident, you know?
Yep, and he'll tell you that he has absolutely no memory of writing Cujo because he was in a cocaine-fueled blackout.
I love that. He locked himself in a room 2 days later with a bunch of cocaine, and then 2 days later there was a basket full of bloody tissues and a finished manuscript for Cujo, and he was like, what the fuck? Well, he doesn't remember.
He read through it, was like,
yeah.
Dog? All right.
That seems good. He doesn't remember directing Maximum Overdrive, his only directorial debut, because he was so fucked up. And I do also love that when they talk about, would you ever direct another movie? He goes, no, have you seen Maximum Overdrive?
Have you seen Maximum Overdrive?
I don't. That's not. Even though I'm going like, you know what, Steve? Maybe sober you could try another movie and it might be good.
Well, no, I'll say this. The man's a storyteller par excellence.
And
but
he's written a number of screenplays, you know.
Yeah, it does not necessarily translate. It's a visual medium.
Yeah.
And I will say the same thing about Kevin Smith. I've never been impressed with the man's direction. The man is a very good writer.
Yeah.
And is
also
very
something,
clever.
Also something he'll tell you.
Yeah.
He is a writer who directs
who directs, and he does a passable job. He gets good actors, and that's what you need.
Oh, and it's not, once again, it's not like his movies are poorly directed. They're just blandly shot, kind of. You know, I mean, that sort of thing where it's not like it's bad, but you're just going like,
he's not a visual storyteller.
I'm focused on the dialogue.
Yeah, set the camera here and let the people say the funny lines.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, it is very rare to find yourself a Quentin Tarantino or a Paul Thomas Anderson or something like that who is equally brilliant at both. Usually you kind of land on one or the other, I feel. There are two other taglines, which are a little bit more pulpy horror.
I'm ready.
When darkness falls, terror rises.
That's really boring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's to the point.
And then this last one reminds me of a very famous other movie's tagline.
Oh.
Part human, part wolf, total terror.
Yeah.
Sounds a little RoboCop-y to me.
Yep, very much so.
And I know this because I'm looking at the RoboCop one sheet I have on the wall of my apartment.
Braggy brag, brag, brag. My name is John. I brag all day long.
I do, yeah. Nothing like bragging about your RoboCop poster. Ladies.
And can you believe he's still single? But no, RoboCop, a genius film of all time.
One of my absolute favorite movies.
You will get the criterion of RoboCop when you pry it from my cold, dead hands.
Hell yes, man.
Especially, I love that thing.
I mean, that's a opposite of, I just said this movie needs to tone down the violence. That's one where I watched the international cut with more blood.
Yeah, where it's like, oh my God, it's 4 minutes and that man is still being shot.
Yeah.
He's still being shot.
Because, goddamn that American cut. We needed to see that guy get shot to pieces.
That is literally the 200th squib going off on that guy.
But I agree with Verhoeven that actually the longer you hold it, the sillier it becomes.
Yeah.
It's less
to
upsetting.
A point of ridiculousness that is wonderful.
And also, I'm very happy that there's a company that's going to be making a figure of Ed 209 and the guy shot to pieces on the.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get that because
everything's coming up roses.
All right,
let's talk some Silver Bullet.
The year is 1976, even though the year is 1985. But we are looking back. Although it's interesting, we're only looking back 9 years, but we're looking back like it's 40 based on this narration.
I know, and we're getting the voiceover, which makes it sound like someone going, oh, things were simpler then. And you're like, well, really, this is 85. We're just flashing back 9 years.
I know. It does feel like it should say 1956 here. You know, that would be more...
or she should at least be narrating from somewhere in the freaking late 90s or something.
The year is 2002 now, but I'm, by the way, this there is a company that's currently working on remaking this as Cycle of the Werewolf. Producers are attempting to redo Cycle of the Werewolf because
I think
King
could.
King is never not hot, but King feels particularly hot now based on
he had a very good run these last few years.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really kicked that off because that became a blockbuster. Both of those,
and I liked Castle Rock season 1. Season 2 was still pretty good, but then they canceled it. I get it, but
Castle Rock was good,
and of course,
Dr. Sleep was excellent.
Dr. Sleep, of course, but why am I forgetting the prequel of Salem's Lot?
Oh, Chapelwaite.
Chapelwaite.
Chapelwaite was
the wait
excellent.
part. I couldn't remember the first part. I was
really
like, something wait.
Really enjoyed Chapelwaite.
Yeah, Chapelwaite was great.
Yeah, Chapelwaite was really good. It's a Dr.
So
Sleep.
there's some quality people adapting Stephen King.
King adapted his own book. Was it Lissie's story? I can't remember what that is. He did that for Apple, which had a lot of prestige and big names in it, and so it does feel like everybody. And we have
But I think what really kicked it off was Dark Tower. That thing was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
I will just say, as of the recording of this, who knows when you're actually listening to it? We have both a Firestarter movie and a Salem's Lot movie coming out later this year.
Both of which I would love to see redone. I mean, I like we did Salem's Lot, and it's still very close to my heart. That's a very good TV miniseries.
Very good, but certainly is dated. But still
and Firestarter was okay.
Yeah, I think that is a
okay,
movie that
as I
could be.
remember.
Yeah, but I remember it being kind of boring in places too.
I remember it being kind of 80s. Again, I keep
Yeah.
saying it sounds gross to wipe the whole decade, but fantasy and genre films of the 80s look cheap. They very
I mean,
often, unless they were big,
a lot of them do. Yeah, as
a
I
lot
would
of them do.
because some of the
Unless
best
they were big studio
Yeah,
releases.
because some of the best genre movies came out in the 80s, but yeah, those are the absolute classics. And then some of the low budget ones are fun, and then some are just like
Even Fright Night, which we both really love, and I think is great, but it looks 80s.
Hey,
because the studio said, "Here's a little bit of money. Go do your Fright Night."
My UK release Blu-ray came the other day that I said I was going to buy on that episode. It did arrive, and I am going to watch that feature-length documentary soon. So I'm very excited to watch that. That's on there. Anyway,
you're so cool, Brewster.
Yeah. So we do start with this drunken railroad worker of some kind. What is he? Yeah, he's boozing and moving his way down the tracks here. Good
I guess he
work,
has a
buddy.
job to clear tracks of debris or something.
Yeah, I don't know what
but
it is.
He's doing it in the middle of the night.
Of course he's doing it in the middle of the night, and he's actively drinking on the job.
Yep, and singing a dumb song. He's singing. This is so Stephen King. He's singing an old Rheingold beer commercial.
Yes,
jingle.
he is. Yes, he is.
And that is about as Stephen King as you're.
That's the
get.
King I am charmed by, though.
Yeah,
so
he's doing an old commercial about Rheingold beer, and he's drinking Rheingold beer.
One of the things I love, one of the reasons, and I think the reason a lot of young nerds take to King is when you read his books, he's such a pop culture sponge.
Oh yeah,
that you're like, oh fuck, this is a nerd writing a nerd book for me, a fellow nerd. Like,
yeah, and also it is a window into another time because his pop culture knowledge is very 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like, oh,
yeah,
I guess there's no one out there right now that's writing books where it would be people of my age and they're constantly referring to Automan or something from
I would
80s or 70s.
I would point to
He-Man.
Ernest Cline, author of
Ernest
Ready Player
Cline,
One
but
and
that's
stuff like
almost too much. That's his whole raison d'etre, to be French.
He is the 80s nostalgia guy. That's his thing.
He is.
Yeah. And look, I enjoy that.
Yeah, but that wasn't your. That's you picking up stuff from that.
That is, and I've said this before. That is me based on the VHS collection of my father, which was all stuff bought in the 80s. So while I was a kid in the 90s, all the movies I were watching were 80s movies, unless they were new, So
yes.
I ride the line between a lot of nostalgia for 80s and 90s. Kind of.
You're kind of a man out of time, like Steve Rogers.
I've always related to him somehow. No. Plus that super soldier
mainly
serum,
the physique.
Yeah,
but
really in Captain America shape. So
but while this guy's doing this, by the way, in the bushes, and of course the score wants us to know because the movie doesn't want to surprise us at all.
I don't think the movie ever surprises.
No, it announces everything. So there's something watching this guy moving through the bushes, and then while he's digging dirt out of the tracks, he sees right in front of him, because that means I guess the creature went up out of the bushes for a second and then went back in.
Oh, the movement of this wolf man is all over the place.
But yeah, he happens to see like Bigfoot-ish tracks of a wolf type feet.
The hell?
Yeah, he goes, what the hell? And then big old furry arm comes out, swats the guy's head right off.
I have not seen this in a long time. I remember seeing this as a kid and really enjoying this movie. So in my memory, this was more in the Poltergeist or Monster Squad vein. So when this dude's head got lopped off and flew through the air last night, I went, oh shit, I didn't remember this kind of stuff happening in this movie.
Yeah,
fuck,
boy.
Man.
This movie doesn't shy away from some gore, as you say.
It really doesn't.
It may be for the movie it was trying to make, possibly needed to.
Yeah, this is not the Howling or American Werewolf in London. It does seem like it's. I mean, I understand why this didn't go at the box office, because kind of who is it for, right?
Exactly.
It's made a pretty hard R for a movie about children. There's only one major critic who gave this a positive review. Mr. Roger Ebert gave this 3 stars. He really enjoyed this thing. He really said he goes on and on about how this is the answer to the horror movie, all right? This is, if you're sick of other horror movies, here's the movie that's doing it different. Here's the movie that dares, you know.
Well, he's perhaps a little too effusive in his praise, but comparatively against the stuff that was coming out, I mean, you could say it's of a kind with Fright Night, where it's trying to give a human dimension, a little bit of humor, a little bit of heart, and also the horror stuff. So I'm not saying this is anywhere as successful as Fright Night, but it's trying to do a similar thing.
He is sort of writing it as it's enjoyable from a satirical standpoint.
Okay.
And he does sort of enjoy it for just being like he goes, if you're sick to hear of horror movies in general and Stephen King in particular, this is the movie for you. This is the movie that knows what it is and is, you know. And I'm like, wow, interesting take. Like I said, though, he is, if you look at him compared to everyone else, trash this thing. And Ebert's going, wait. I found this very charming.
Well, I do like when because he will, or he did back in the day, he would very often champion things unabashedly and say, look, I know everyone disagrees. I fucking love this. Yeah. And that is, to me, the best kind of reviewer.
He actually seems to be enjoying how much it leans into. He goes, I knew who the werewolf was from the second he came on screen, but
of course.
But it's funny and charming and likable, and you know, and it
was a lot of that.
I actually agree with kind of his opinion.
Makeup and bad direction.
When you talk about the movie doesn't surprise you, I'm like, it doesn't, but that also kind of made my viewing last night just like, oh, this is kind of a charming little picture. Exactly. It's a real shut your brain off kind of movie. But it is striving to do something, which I think is also, as we talked about,
it has its charms.
Yes, unlike, I mean, we watched Howling 2 last week. All right, literally whatever we watched this week was gonna be bumped up a full letter grade.
That film wasn't funny bad to me; it angered me.
That movie is rough, man.
It made me angry.
Yeah, rough.
This was delightful comparatively.
I do like that this is where the narration starts, and the narration tells us, well, his death was ruled an accident since he was a known drunk. And you're like, what? He accidentally had it because he fell on the tracks. Is that the idea?
Yes, that's it. It's like he worked on the railroad. He was drunk. Everyone knew he was drunk, so they just assumed. And this has happened in real life. People falling asleep on train tracks.
Yeah.
So they just assumed he had collapsed or blacked out on the train tracks, and his head had gotten chopped off by the train.
Seems like, I don't know, even in 1976, we would have had some forensic evidence to say it was ripped from his body, not severed by train tracks.
I think assumption went a long way here.
Yeah, and I'm willing to go with it because I don't think this small town sheriff's department is digging into anything or doing any kind of real detective work. Terry O'Quinn, as much as I love him, is maybe not the greatest investigator in this movie.
No, not really. But can I also say this movie, almost from the get-go, not almost, but from the get-go, had me thinking, because it's Stephen King, it's like, so is this Maine? And I know in the book it is Maine.
Of course.
And this movie, no. There's no way this is Maine.
No.
Everybody's accent is all over the board. And when you have a Gary Busey, and then you have other people playing locals, they're like, well, I don't know what's happening, Sheriff. Or, I'm like, oh, where the fuck is this? And then at the end of it, I saw filmed in North Carolina.
Yeah, it has that look. It definitely has that look.
Southern, which is kind of weird. But what?
Oh, this movie didn't bomb. It cost $7 million. It made $12 million. By 85 standards, that's okay.
Yeah. All those people that made it probably could afford, to double the cheese on their pizzas.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, so we meet the two protagonists of the movie, which are this brother and sister, Marty and Jane Coslaw. And oh boy, welcome to the show for the first time, Mr. Corey Haim.
And not the last
Oh,
time.
Lord, no, not the last time. In fact, he's going to be in a much, much better monster movie pretty soon on the show.
Can I also say R.I.P. there? Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Of course, the Coreys
Yeah.
caught so much mockery.
I was gonna ask you, Brendan, were you more of a Haim or a Feldman?
I was a Haim, while appreciating Feldman. Feldman's the interesting one.
I was a Feldman. See, I'm a Feldman guy.
But Feldman's the interesting one. But yeah. Haim was the one that really should have gone far.
I agree there.
And it does hurt because you see promise. You see promise in this. You'll see promise
in this.
Yeah, he's really great in this, and he's great in a lot of his early roles. Of course, we're going to be seeing Lost Boys, and of course, great.
Both are great in that.
Both are great in that.
Yeah, that's really a great showcase for the two of them.
So I don't know of the truth behind any of the Me Too stuff about them being traded, both Coreys, in a kind of sex ring fashion, and if that's true, shame on the world, shame on Hollywood for letting it happen.
I mean, the sad thing is that is plausible. We can't completely write that off.
It's plausible. You can't do anything about that. But
that just makes that sad, is that could have
clearly
happened.
The drug abuse stuff, we knew about all that. Yeah. So it's a shame.
Yeah.
Corey Haim is a cautionary tale. He was a talented young actor.
He died at 38, man. 38.
I know, 38, Jesus. And he looked rough for 38.
He did, man. We'll see him in one of his last performances in a Lost Boys sequel much, much later on this show.
God, I look forward to
movie.
Not the sequel.
Oh, Jesus, no. I saw that when it came out because I was like, ooh, more Lost Boys. Ooh, no.
Frog Brothers.
Yeah, man. Hey, always more Frog Brothers I need. Turns out I don't. Things are looking up for the Feldmeister.
But I do like both Coreys, and at least here we're seeing the beginning of a young movie star, and he's quite good.
It's one of those things. I think you're right when you talk about sort of like, oh, the Coreys, right? Especially when they're
right.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of License to Drive, right?
Right,
you know?
And even that's one of their last good ones.
Yeah, Dream a Little Dream, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, not pretty great, good, but pretty good.
Then you get to that weird period where Haim and what's her name from Charles in Charge were doing like erotic
Nicole Eggert
together, and then you're like, ooh, this is gross. And then not too long of a career for either one of them.
Yeah.
But what I'll say here is, he's good. And do they ever address how he lost the use of his legs, or was he born that way?
They do not know, because they say he was crippled at some point.
Oh, okay.
But they never say how.
And that's fine. I'm sure that the novel does, but I can't remember.
It's been a while since this movie actually made me want to go back and read the book. I
wish I used to have it. I don't currently have it, but so. He's a delightful, precocious, but actually very sweet kid.
Yeah, because
with a bad influence friend.
Yeah, Brady Kincaid is the bad influence
the punk
fan, or the bit. Yeah, he's the. By the way, he died at almost exactly the same time as Corey Haim, at almost exactly the same age.
What,
Joe
really?
Wright. Yeah,
he was the guy who played Brady.
He was 39 and died the year before Haim. Well,
I knew this was going to be a real pick-me-up of an episode.
I think he similarly struggled with some of the demons of child actors and such.
Oh, yikes.
He did not have much of a career, though. He did this and a handful of other things, and that was it. So, anyway, very sad. Very sad.
But essentially, the brother is being coaxed into pulling a prank on his sister.
Yeah.
She's Jenny, right? Is that her name?
Yeah, I think that's right. I just said it earlier and I've already forgotten.
Yeah, you did.
Jane. Sorry, she's Jane.
Jane.
Yeah.
Oh, they do call her Janie, I think. So.
Yes. Yeah.
But she is not physically impaired. And.
Right.
So her younger bratty brother pulls a prank on her that causes her to fall in mud, and she gets all pissed off. And we see that her brother for being a guy with non-working legs, he seems to be able to shimmy up trees pretty easy. But yeah, they were dropping a garter snake on her or something. It was
he shimmies up the tree later. Because Brady shimmies up the tree here.
Right, Brady's in the tree here.
Because they even say, yeah, but it's so funny because later they go, well, we know he couldn't have done it because he couldn't get up that tree. But yet later he
gets up a tree.
Yeah, all right. Well,
and we see him get in and out of his second floor bedroom, like by trellis work.
Forget it. The script's a mess. The script's a mess. Never mind. No. I do think maybe there is this whole thing about the parents really, are like, oh, don't bother him. He's crippled. He can't be bad. He's crippled. So I think that's what I'm sort of saying is like maybe they don't know how much of a scamp he can be should he need to.
There is that, and also probably that's a little bit of that.
They're very overprotective of him and really
overprotective, and probably cutting him way too much slack because he's had a rough go.
Oh, one of my favorite lines in this movie is he gets away with everything just because he's crippled.
Yeah, she says that, which is a line that today you go, ooh, we don't even use those words anymore.
No,
really.
Now the audience would turn completely against Jane. It's just like, fuck
but
her,
it's
man.
Also a very, that's a very realistic, and again, Stephen King, very good. That's a thing an older sister would like blurt out and then feel bad about, that's what I like about this.
Yeah.
The brother and sister is they're not one dimensional because. Instantly, the brother feels bad.
Like you're saying, this is where and he goes to her later that night and gives her money. And
tries to, while she's asleep, he tries to pay for the pantyhose that got muddy.
Yeah.
So he's putting money down, and she wakes up and goes, what are you doing? He's like, I thought you could get some new pantyhose. I'm really sorry about it. And she goes, look, take this back. I can get some cheap ones. And I was like, that's sweet.
That's a nice.
I love these kids. They're good kids.
That's the stuff. This is what we're talking about. Where the script really works is the character stuff. And that sails me through a lot of the movie that doesn't work in terms of I'm like,
I will say we never get to know the parents very well.
No,
because
it's all about Busey.
They're overprotective of their kids, and they don't like Uncle Red. That's basically all we ever learn about him.
Which also
and the dad has business that makes him go out of town.
That also reads really realistic because Busey is so good in this part, and he's so well cast because when you meet Uncle Red, you're like, oh yeah, as an adult I would go, this guy's trouble, but as a kid I would think he's cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's telling you slightly dirty jokes and kidding around and
keeping you up late playing cards, giving you fireworks, building you a crazy illegal wheelchair motorcycle. Super against the law.
I mean, I know that motorized wheelchairs go back to the 70s, so they had them, but what they have here is
this isn't a wheelchair.
Go-kart.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a go-kart with a wheelchair basically fused to it.
We never see him like in school. I did wonder, this whole thing is gas powered. Is he driving that thing around inside?
No.
It's the only wheelchair we ever see him in, though.
We see that he gets swapped out into just a normal wheelchair to go into the house.
I guess that's true. That's true. This is his outside one. But I mean, for the love of God, he's out racing a.
One thing, there's no way that would happen. I will say that it's a real functioning go-kart thing that they made for him.
Sure.
And it is so fucking loud. That they are shouting their dialogue at each other like you would have to in real life because you would never be able to hear anyone.
I just wanted a scene in English class where like, so in Tom's God
but
damn
also,
it!
This does start like in at the end or the beginning of summer.
Yes.
So this is like between.
That's true. Well, because that's the
summer
1976, right? We're in the bicentennial, big 4th of July,
right?
Time here, which is once again different than the novel, which takes place over the course of an entire year. But I understand from a movie standpoint, that's a lot of time to cover. So.
Also, realistically, if you're dealing with that, they do a point in this movie. They do show that so many deaths have occurred that people start leaving that town, very much like Salem's Lot. But
there's a lot of.
You got to imagine if it's over the course of a year, who would still live there? If it's like once a month, at least 3 people are going to get horribly torn apart.
But I do like that in the novel he sticks to the very proper. Well, no, it's a full moon, which means once a month
Yep.
this happens, and and so here,
But then in this one we get some weird
we get
gobbledygook.
I know,
with,
and it's such a tossed away thing too to be like,
Yeah.
hey, here's kind of an explanation as to what's happening. Oh, let's go though. Don't really worry about it too much.
Yeah,
You
it's
you
like,
want to
well,
see a werewolf, so
They could just be they're always wolf people, but sometimes in the full moon they're wolfier.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
And
all
that's
right.
not even stated as fact. It's just a tossed off theory from the sister, and the movie's like, and we're gonna go with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. It's my note just says Uncle's a drunken mess because they overhear the parents. Or no, when she's being mean to him back, she goes, "Yeah, that uncle you love. Guess what? He just blew up his third marriage, and he's a drunk. God damn it! Like."
I know.
He's on marriage number 3.
The parents are disparaging Uncle Red. Then the sister hears it, and she uses that as another dagger to her
As
younger
my note
brother.
says,
Like,
Uncle is drunken mess. I mean, that's basically.
yeah, he's a drunken mess.
And who better than Gary Busey to play your drunken mess of an uncle?
Who still, as you say, comes across as absolutely lovable and awesome.
Of course. I mean, 80s Busey, man. I love this guy.
I also like clearly in these scenes, and you see it especially in the scene where they're having their late night barbecue thing, and he's gonna do the fireworks. He improvs in this movie, and the actors play with it a little bit, and I just love that Busey's like going, "Hey." He's like doing like weird little handshakes and doing stuff that was clearly spontaneous, and you see like Corey Haim lighten up because he's just like going, "Oh, we're playing."
Well,
like,
I mean, did you see this in the trivia? The director Dan Adias said Gary Busey ad-libbed much of his role.
No, I did not see that. But
a lot of this is improv. Given the thumbs up from Stephen King, he said before he used anything, he made sure Stephen King was cool with any dialogue changes Gary Busey made, and he often was. So,
well, there you go.
Because he just Busey'd it. Yeah. You know, he Busey'd it up a little bit.
He Busey'd it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I can come in here and be a little bit more Busey about this. Also, future actor Jake Busey was apparently on this set a lot, his son, and became very close friends with Corey Haim during the making of this.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
I bet they were probably around the same age.
They were about the same age, they said. Yeah, so I guess it was a fun summer shooting this movie with his dad, I guess. So,
oh.
Yeah. Hey, man, come on. All right, come on. I will say...
You always want to do some fireworks? We're going to do some fireworks.
Looking at this movie, though, you look at this and you go, Gary Busey, Corey Haim are your leads. Haim's the one who's dead now? Because you're like, Busey died like 5 years later, right? Like, no, Busey's still alive. He almost did,
pretty
certainly.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, for a guy who hit a tree with no helmet on and going at 50 or 60 miles per hour.
He had like his brain was exposed and stuff like that. And,
it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's amazing
that thing
he's
is
as
around.
functional as he is, which is not super, but you know.
Yeah.
Hey man, come on. Well, I do love. I heard it on a commentary track. Judd Apatow said he was walking down the street with his friend, and they just he bumped shoulders with Gary Busey just on the street, and Busey spun around and went, "Hey, you want to go?" No, man, I don't want to go, Gary Busey. I'm good. Mm-hmm. I think and I'm like, yeah, that adds up with what I think of him. It's sad, but he's great in this. So yeah, he's now staying with them because he's burned through marriage number 3.
Right.
Also, we should say earlier when they were out, Jane overheard this woman arguing with a man about paternity of her child. She's like, "It's your baby." He's like, "Mm-mm. You may be knocked out, or is it you may have a bun in the oven, but it ain't my bun."
Yeah. It's weird non sequitur stuff that pays off way down the line. So you wonder why this woman gets targeted for murder. But yeah, so the sister, who she is what, maybe 13-ish,
14,
and
13,
the
14,
younger brother Corey Haim is like 10.
Yeah.
But the sister Jane overhears this woman and man who've had an affair, and the woman says, "I'm pregnant," and the guy's like, "I ain't taking the responsibility for it." And she's clearly now contemplating suicide, this poor lady.
Yeah, we come to her house at night, and she's thinking about taking these pills when
Yeah, she's
outside,
about to kill us.
bottom, bottom,
Yep.
bottom,
A
bottom,
werewolf
bottom,
fucking just ends up through the window and kills her.
I do love nothing subtle about this werewolf. He will just burst into your
Yeah.
house. That
I
we
also
haven't seen
love that
much of. Usually the
have
werewolf just grabs people in the woods. This werewolf is like, I'm coming in.
I'm coming in, and downstairs we have the woman's mother going, "Are you okay?" And then grabbing a gun.
Well, not just grabbing a gun. She fails to act because she spends so much time going, where is that gun?
Where is that gun that I
Digging through
had?
stuff. Oh, I know I had a gun around here somewhere.
She gets upstairs finally, opens the bedroom door
And
with
this
the gun,
woman
sees
is
her daughter
Torn to
flashed.
shreds, man.
torn to shreds on the bed.
I mean,
and
this
she just
is
goes, "Ah!"
this
and drops the gun.
This death is gorier than the deaths in Howling or Werewolf in London, actually.
Yeah.
Now, you
there's-
see claws tearing through flesh.
And it is my preference to see a werewolf do werewolf stuff.
That's why I feel so conflicted about this movie, because
I know you're right about the tone, and it's not for this type of werewolf movie.
These are good werewolf deaths. They just don't belong in this movie.
Maybe it's to make up because they knew that the werewolf itself looked terrible.
Well,
we may as well
let me
make those werewolf deaths look good.
Let me also say this from the trivia: they filmed a good chunk of this movie before they had finished werewolf makeup.
That would make sense. That's why it's mostly claws and furry arms.
And so then that also, unfortunately, meant they couldn't send that back to the drawing board because they'd already filmed most of the movie. So they're like,
that
shit,
thing is
we
just
gotta.
an embarrassment.
And a better director would have found ways to really keep it in shadow for the entire movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because early on it works. When it is just claws and stuff like that, I'm like, great. Perfect. Yeah. Just
even the silhouette when it pops up to get the guy at the train tracks, just sort of with the moonlight behind it as a shadow, it looked okay.
When that thing is snarling and we're in a fully lit close-up on it, you're like, oof, okay, man, I think I could put that together. Yeah, that's a cosplay werewolf right there.
Oh man, it's not good.
Yeah. So let's see. So now we have Smitrovich trying to rally everybody in the bar, going, "Well, we're tired of this."
I want to mention one thing before we get to him. And by the way, that's not the character name; that's the character actor's name.
Yeah. Sorry, it's Andy Fairden is the character's name.
Yeah. But they made a mention. The movie very lazily tries to throw a red herring at you, and yes, red, purposeful pun, is that they do say. I think it's the mom says to Red. I thought the mom was the sister of Red, but I guess Red was the dad's brother. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Is that right? But she's the one who's always on his ass.
No,
it's the sister, because later Busey says, "Hey, you two remind me of your mom and I when we were kids.
Oh, okay.
You're just like us, and we're still that way." That's what he said.
Right.
Yeah.
But she goes, "You think you can come in here once a month and become the hero to these kids?"
That's right.
And I remember watching that going, "Oh my God, they're trying to actually hint that maybe the once a month thing is that Red could be the werewolf."
Hey man, I come in here, I eat a couple people, and then I go home.
I fill up on some beer, and turn to a werewolf, and I eat some people, and then I get on my motorcycle, I head home real fast. Yeah. Real fast. I don't wear a helmet at all. I don't need a helmet.
Yeah. Ain't nothing ever gonna happen to me, okay? I'm super careful, all right? It is darkly ironic later when he's like, "Hey, when you're out there riding that thing, be careful, man. All right."
Oh, when the kid gets the new souped up silver bullet and takes off, and he goes, "That kid's a goner." I was like going, ooh, ooh.
Hey, I don't know.
Heed, Gary Busey.
Hey man, it's like I had a flash of my own future when I said that line. I don't know, that was weird, man. It was really weird.
Anyway, so yes, the townspeople in the bar are like, "Hey, we had 2 people have been torn up.
Yeah.
And what's the police doing about it?" And there's always one police deputy who happens to always be in the same bar. The sheriff himself, who is our friend Terry Quinn, is
John
not
Locke
there.
from Lost, man.
I know. This is early days. This is like he had maybe made The Stepfather already, which is a underrated
Oh,
horror
love The
classic.
Stepfather. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's great.
Yeah. And he's a couple years out from being Howard Hughes in The Rocketeer.
Oh man,
So good. Such good casting, man. Him as Howard Hughes in that.
also, he was always a great actor just looking for attention because that guy, I
Absolutely.
love him.
Yeah.
It's just amazing that his career was always just little parts for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, he had done All the Right Moves before that. Remember the Tom Cruise football movie?
I'm not a fan, but it did have Leah Thompson in it, so
Mhm.
that
Yeah. And he was
all I needed.
in the 80 the classic the same year he was in the classic 80s sex comedy Mischief.
I don't know this. Oh no, that's the one with 16 Candles kid.
No, it's Doug McKean and Kelly Preston and
Oh,
Catherine
Kelly
Mary
Preston.
Stewart.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
man, sorry, I don't want to be creepy, but she was a beautiful lady.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Kelly Preston.
Yeah.
And that was one of her early ones where every movie she made for several years had her taking her top off.
Yeah, in my memory, that was kind of all that movie had. That was like the mystique and word about that movie.
Yeah.
Was the nudity
And
that was
there
in
was
it.
also
I don't think the movie is much.
There was an 80s rom-com that she was in called Secret Admirer.
Oh,
and she's
C. Thomas Howell, Lori Loughlin.
Yeah, oh my God, you did watch everything that your dad had on VHS.
My dad loves Secret Admirer. Stupidly.
Well, it actually was fairly funny if I remember correctly.
I like Fred
saw
Ward
it in the
in
theaters.
it. Fred Ward is
And the
very
big
funny in it.
surprise of that movie,
Yeah.
which was PG or PG-13,
Yeah.
is that Kelly Preston took her top off. Even in that, it was like
It's one of those things,
God,
though, where should it be a
boobs.
surprise? It is a surprise, but also
it was
like.
a PG-13
Yeah,
movie, and
yeah.
to see boobs in it was like, what?
And actually, speaking of Stephen King adaptations, Kelly Preston had been in Christine.
I don't remember her being in Christine.
Yeah,
and
here's
I
the
thought
thing that makes
Christine-
no sense about Christine, right? She is the girl that likes the main character, but he has no interest in her.
Oh
and you're
right,
like,
he
that
likes
doesn't
the
make
brunette.
it. Who is very cute, but not Kelly Preston.
Yeah, that does seem weird that she would be the non-chosen.
Yeah, when she's like, "Do you want to go to the dance with me?" and he's like, "No, thanks, no interest."
Christine is not a bad
Oh, I like Christine.
Stephen. I mean, it's not top tier, but it's certainly far from the bottom.
A lot of it is it's certainly.
And I love that
pumped up.
novel. I did love the novel.
Yeah, they are remaking Christine right now.
A 1958 Plymouth Fury that kills
A
because
lot.
it loves
That
its
movie
owner.
gains a lot of esteem because Carpenter directs it very well. Like having
Right.
Carpenter direct it and the music and stuff like that.
Yes, there's a lot of but that's in the book too. A lot of clever choices. Anytime the
Yeah.
radio comes on, it's got a very specific
But that is
oldies tune.
That is one that is also up for remake right now. Brian Fuller is doing Christine.
Wow.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be as highfalutin and intelligent as something Brian Fuller would normally do.
He really wants to latch on to the queer subtext of the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, which is of the novel, I should say. It's there, and it certainly can be brought forward
It's
in a
there,
more modern
yeah.
remake. Yeah,
I mean, it's the nerd who idolizes his cool, jockish, good friend,
mm-hmm.
and then becomes suddenly awesome himself because of the demonic influence of his car.
Yes. Also, the Stepfather is 2 years after this, 1987, and he's in Space Camp in between. Ontario,
Which I never saw, but that's also Leah Thompson.
How did you not see us? Leah Thompson and a young Kate Capshaw and Kelly Preston.
Well, guess what I'll be watching after this?
Also, little
Space Camp.
kid Joaquin Phoenix in it too.
Oh, adorable. Man, today's episode's been full of little surprises.
It's another one I remember liking as a kid, Space Camp. It's not good, but it's a very cute kids go to space movie. If you're gonna do that though, Explorers is the better movie.
Oh, 100%.
Love Explorers, man.
Even The Navigator.
Oh, Flight of the Navigator.
Oh, is it Flight of the Navigator?
The Disney one, yeah.
Yeah, I always
I watched any movie about
abbreviate.
kids who go to space, basically. Anyway, back to this movie.
No one goes to space in this movie.
No, but a kid fights a werewolf, so once again, it's sold like 10-year-old me. I gotta see this.
Yep.
This was one I rented. My dad was like, I don't think that one's very good. And I'm like, shut up, Dad. It's Gary Busey fighting a werewolf.
I like that if you're going to take a stand and stand up to your father, it's over something worthy like this.
Yeah, well, I think it was about the age of 10 or 12.
Fuck you, old man.
It was about the age of
Silver Bullet.
That age about 10 or 12 where we started to figure out where we differed on movies. My dad, not a huge horror guy. You know, we both love action stuff and things like that, but I got more into the genre stuff. My dad also not a big comedy guy. Sort of often thinks things are, well, they took it too far. That's my dad's biggest review of comedies. Oh, it was funny for a while, then they just went too far, just too silly. Yeah. Just too silly.
All right.
So anyway, so he's and this is where, oh my God, can you get a more intense bartender than Lawrence Tierney with a fucking baseball bat that says peace? Was it Peacemaker on it? Is that what it says?
Yeah, it's a Peacemaker.
Yeah, man. Holy shit. I want to watch a whole movie about this guy. Forget the werewolf shit. I want to see baseball bat carrying bartender.
Except for he has a pretty weak, death. You're like, I want you to be more badass. He gets some slugs in, but man, that's not
I am bummed that there's not more Lawrence Tierney in this movie. I love Lawrence Tierney. He's always such a great presence on film. Yeah. We just did an episode of The Action Shelf the other week that had Lawrence Tierney. He was in the Charles Bronson movie Murphy's Law. Underused in that, but playing like a sleazebag private eye in that movie.
That's a good fit.
Yeah. And he was, of course, to me, two things. He's Elaine's father on Seinfeld, and, of course, Reservoir Dogs, because like any good, nerdy film guy in the 2000s, I had a Reservoir Dogs poster on my wall.
Of course you did.
Had to. You were issued that and the Boondock Saints, which were both on my wall in high school.
I have to be Mr. Pink?
Yeah. Why do I have to be Mr. Pink? Why don't we let guys choose their own colors? No, I've done that. It never works out. Everybody wants to be Mr. Black. I have seen that movie a lot, and it is a great movie.
Yeah, it is.
But it is a cliched film student poster to have.
Absolutely.
Put that up there with Fight Club, Scarface, all that kind of stuff. All right. So, meanwhile, Haim's cruising about in his motorized wheelchair with this girl who's only in this one scene, but apparently is his best gal, according to Gary Busey.
In the cute, 10-year-old best gal way.
Right.
And even this is touching, even though she's in one scene, because it's clear that she doesn't give a shit. He's in a motorized wheelchair. She gives him a peck on the cheek when she...
because he's cute little Corey Haim. Come on, if you're a 10-year-old girl, you're going for Haim.
You're definitely going to kiss that cheek. But this is... she also happens to be, in true Stephen King fashion, she's the daughter of the town unbelievable asshole.
Get back in the house.
Lives on the wrong side of the tracks.
Come on, get back in the house. Help your mother. God damn it.
Yeah. God damn it, get in the house and help your mother. And she says...
this is Bev from It, right? I mean, it's the same thing. Yeah. It's,
on their way, because he's accompanying her to her place, they pass the house where the woman got torn apart. They see the police outside.
Yeah.
And so the girl goes, thanks for taking me home because it's so scary. And she goes, and also I hear things out in the woods and in that shack at night. And there's a shack on the land.
The shack on the land,
though,
is a greenhouse, exactly, which I thought was kind of odd for this big old beer-bellied, but also I'm a horticulturalist, all right, man?
I thought it was going to be a grow house where it'd have a lot of marijuana.
Dude, that would have made way more sense for this guy to be the town drug dealer.
I bet possibly that was the original intent, and then they're like, yeah, let's back off that. But it seems that this guy's turned this greenhouse shack into his man cave, too, because he's in there, swilling beer and watching wrestling.
Oh, my God, when it cuts to him later, and he's just like, hey, all right, with the wrestling, and he's got the beer.
Yeah, got my beer, got my wrestling.
And then he hears something outside, and he's like, oh, God damn it, this is interrupting my wrestling and beer time.
Mm-hmm. And there's something in the greenhouse. And it turns out to be a werewolf that kills him.
Yeah. Actually, I think maybe my favorite werewolf death when it comes out of the floor and grabs this guy and starts
and
ripping
then
him
pulls
apart.
him down, and he's a big dude, so he doesn't get him all the way through. Like he's half,
And so he's
through the
ripping
floor.
his lower half apart, and blood's pouring out. I mean, like, once again, in
And
isolation, I like the werewolf kills. They just don't fit the movie.
Then he bends forward. I'm not sure how that plank went up. If he's being pulled down, it should actually be going down. But regardless, there's a plank that's sticking up, and as he bends forward, he gets impaled on that. This guy gets killed 18 different ways. Not just a werewolf killing him from beneath, but also impaled on the wooden plank in the floor.
So then we're back to the bar, and there's a near fight, but the fight gets interrupted because the father of is it Marty? What's the kid's name?
Brady.
Oh well, the Brady is his Marty's dirtbag friend Brady. His father goes, "My son is missing." Talk about a guy really going for it. Is this actor as Brady's father?
He didn't get paid any extra for the amount of acting he put in. He gave some for free. But this
guy, man, Kent Broadhurst, an actor who basically has a career of being like policeman number 2, and but here he's like, oh, I got some lines, and I am chewing scenery.
We glossed over the scene of, and it's also hard to tell, I will say, for something that's supposed to be happening month to month.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it look at least that the first 3 to 5 murders all happen within 3 nights or 3 days.
Timeline is
it made no sense to me
here.
how the funerals could be happening like the next day. Funerals don't happen the next day, my friend. Anyway,
no. You pull them right from the crime scene into a coffin, and we're having a funeral, baby. That's how it works.
But also, there was a scene with Marty and Brady and the sister where she finds them, is like, you're supposed to be home now. You're late for dinner. And Marty's like, oh, I'm sorry, I lost track of time. And so they leave Brady alone in the park with a kite. And the music's playing. And again, the music doesn't want you to think for a second that the kid's going to be okay. So it's going dun, dun, dun. And the next thing you know,
as if kid alone in the park with a kite wasn't enough, like, oh shit, something might happen to him.
Yeah, they linger on that. And then before you know it, the cops are taking the dad to the gazebo in the park where the bloodied, ripped apart remains of Brady are, and he acts his fucking ass off.
Actually,
like,
the beat I like about this is before they bring the father, Terry O'Quinn is walking back from the gazebo, and he's saying, like, the Lord's Prayer and crossing himself.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a really good beat from O'Quinn. Like, oh, my God, I just saw a torn-apart kid. This is shaking me to my core. And then when the guy shows up, he goes, you do not want to go over there. Trust me. Don't do it. And he's like, whatever. Let me see my boy. Oh, God, why?
What happens is that actor, what's his name, Broadhurst?
Kent Broadhurst, yes.
He has never publicly come out and said this, but he does know the secret of time travel. He went ahead and he actually saw a copy of Mystic River. Is
that my daughter in there?
Is that my daughter? And that performance so transformed Kent Broadhurst that he brought it back and made it part of his performance here in 1985.
By the way, Mystic River, great movie. I love Mystic River.
It is, and even though it's easily mocked, that is an undeniably powerful scene.
It really is. All the cops grabbing him. Like, he's got like 20 cops on him, and he's still...
It will destroy anyone that's ever known a child, much less had a child.
Dude, that scene, that got penned the Oscar. That's what that scene alone, I think.
Oh my God,
he's great through the whole movie, but I think that was when it was like, he gets the statue for that. Holy shit, ma'am. He's amazing.
And I am calling you ma'am on purpose.
Yeah. And the last shot when he looks at Kevin Bacon, and Kevin Bacon knows he, spoiler, killed Tim Robbins, and it's like,
oh, come on.
What are you gonna do?
You spoiled Mystic River.
Oh God, I love Mystic River, man.
Edit this part out. I don't want people coming after
for
us
that movie from like
spoiling.
2001. We came out like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and one of Eastwood's best though as a director.
It's one of those movies that, similar to things like, there are movies that are great, but I don't ever want to watch again. That's one of those.
Oh man, I'm a dark, twisted fuck. I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, you are a dark,
really like
twisted
that movie.
fuck.
So we are at the funeral for the boy then, as you said, immediately they have the funeral. And I do like this little beat from Busey where he's got a flask and he's like, no, not here.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Maybe
starts
don't.
to pull out the flask like, I got to hit this. And then he's like, you know what? Not right here, not now. And he puts it back. That's good.
That might be in bad taste. Yeah, that's a nice little acting beat. I like that. I like that a lot.
And we haven't talked about the town reverend priest.
Well, this is where you really get another great character actor, Everett McGill, man. Love Everett
Big
McGill.
Ed.
Big
Ed.
It's Big Ed. It's Stilgar from Dune.
Shia Lude. I liked the new Dune. It's very good, but I missed him delivering those lines in his voice.
I mean, that's one of those things where it's like, of course the new Dune is better, but I will always have affinity for 1984's Dune. I've seen it so many times, and I just love
You're forgiven.
Just how weird, and I do have the Arrow 4K collector's edition of that, and I just love that movie. And
it's okay.
So that he's coming off of that because that was the year before. 84 was Dune for Everett McGill.
Yes, but still pre Twin Peaks. He's not long for Twin Peaks.
And actually, we were just talking about Eastwood, and the next year he goes and works with Eastwood in Heartbreak Ridge.
Oh yeah, Heartbreak Ridge.
That's a good one.
It's good.
Yeah. And then he goes on to play a series of. Unfortunately, his career turns into a lot of henchmen and stuff, and like Under Siege 2, Dark Territory, and License to Kill. He's in a Bond movie, which is.
But don't worry,
yeah,
he'll come back, and he'll come back strong.
He will. Well, he did in a thing called Twin Peaks: The Return, where he played Big Ed again. Which is great. I'm firmly in favor of The Return. I know some people not as into it, but I dug it.
What, season 3?
Yeah, season 3, man.
Season 3 is great.
I think so, but some people are like, "Yeah, it's just
season
so weird."
3 is the best 18-hour, essentially 18-hour David Lynch movie you're ever gonna see.
And I'm just a sucker for Lynch. Even when he doesn't work, I'm always at least interested.
It answers questions that you always had, and then it leaves you questions you'll never get answered, which is also what I want from Twin Peaks.
It really is, man.
When it ended, I was like, I'm satisfied, and weirdly not.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm both at the same time.
As a diehard fan of that show, I was so glad that existed for that exact reason. Where I'm like, good, yeah, we wrapped up some things, and of course, I don't want everything answered. That's not the Twin Peaks way.
Oh man, it is. I do understand people's disappointment. They wanted something tidy, but I wanted something David Lynch, and that's what I got.
Oh, it's aggressively Lynch, and I think that's why he had offers to do it before, but I think he held out for a long time, going, not until it's really Lynch.
Yeah, and also he was waiting for him and Mark Frost to reconnect.
That's right. They had some friction there.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah. So they're at the this crazy speech that Everett McGill gives here. That should tip you off that there's something weird about this guy at the very least.
Well, he's very sympathetic, very empathetic, and he's like, if only there were words I had that would make this better for everybody.
Sure.
And I just don't have those words, and it's that kind of thing.
It is, and I mean, but there's a tinge of strangeness to it as well.
Yeah, there is.
That is, it's a little intense.
Yeah.
Not as intense as some of the shit you'll say later, because my God, Everett McGill is also an actor who, by the end of this thing, is going for it like nobody's business.
Oh boy. But also, he gets that dream sequence, which is one of my all-time favorite things ever. So yeah, if you haven't figured this movie out by that point, and I don't know why you wouldn't have, but good Lord, that thing is one for the ages. That is amazing.
It really is. I will once again come back to, I am not a fan of dream sequences in general, and I would probably have cut that sequence myself. But
I love it.
I mean, I like it in isolation. Yeah.
Shit. It is ridiculous, and I'm loving it.
Dream sequences are always like, why? What are we doing?
Well, this one was trying to give you a very important clue.
Clue, or just full on being like, he's a werewolf?
Okay.
Although for a second I'm going, the whole town being werewolves would actually be a pretty cool ending to this movie.
Well,
That gets
the
to
idea
howling.
of is the curse passed on?
Yeah.
That is not addressed here.
Yeah,
But
can we get Busey werewolf in a sequel, man? Hey, man, I'm a werewolf now. All right. Watch out, everybody.
you better stock up on Shiv Bush and Roman candles, because here I come.
One of the things I do like about this take on the werewolf is the guy knows he's a werewolf and is kind of cool with it and is actively also, I mean, is objectively evil, but has his own motivations for werewolf killings as a person. Not always the case.
Strangely, he does come across as a genuinely good priest who does care, but is like, but I got no choice about the werewolf thing. Sorry, everybody. It's just, I got no choice.
Right.
Can't do anything about it. So in the meantime, I'll do all this good and I'll help the people of the town. But once a month, sorry, I'm going to turn into a werewolf and kill you.
And also, rare religious, evangelical kind of zealot werewolf.
Well, yeah, when he gets in the whole thing about she was going to kill herself. And that is a cardinal sin.
A favor.
So I saved her from going to hell by turning into a werewolf and killing her.
I like that. That was creepy. That
actually is.
You're like, great. Oh man, this guy is justifying werewolf murder. Okay.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
And that's Stephen King writing. That's some good.
That is Stephen King writing, man. Yeah. Once again, this movie. I let me go back to. I do wish this movie was better, and I do hope that whatever new version they're gonna make does do this well, because there's so much good here. So let's see. Oh yeah. So now we go to. All right. Well, fuck it, man. It's vigilante time. We're putting a mob together. We're getting back to Hammer and Universal with a mob of townsfolk going, we're going to take to the woods. Now, they don't think it's a werewolf. They think it's just some psycho. Because I do like Corey Haim suggests to Gary Busey it's a werewolf. And for some reason, in Busey's mind, it's more comforting to be like, no, man, your best friend was just murdered by a psychopath. All right.
Well, it's not better. He's just basically saying, like, I can accept.
Yeah.
Even though it's horrible, I can accept that it's a human being, some crazy killer.
Yeah. Hey, werewolves don't exist, kid. All right, don't worry about that. There are plenty of serial killers out there, though.
Yeah. But there you go. And then the entire townspeople gathering together saying the cops aren't doing anything. The sheriff is a asshole who doesn't do anything. It's time to take it into our own hands. It is very much the updating of the Universal.
And of course, King is doing that, right? I mean,
they don't have torches, but other than that,
and you
have the priest saying, "Don't do it, don't."
Well, actually,
this is the wrong thing to do.
Before the priest does that, Terry O'Quinn goes in and he talks about, and I like. I mean, once again, O'Quinn is really good. And he's like, this isn't the law, all right? I'm here to keep the law. This is, what does he call it?
Well, I was expecting him to say, it's like, there's a word for this. It's vigilantism.
No.
He doesn't say that. He says, social justice or something like that?
It's not that. It's like personal justice or
something like that.
Public justice, personal maybe?
Public justice.
I think it's something like that. Yeah, I want to see if they have it in the... But it's weird that he says that. And then it seems like for a second things calm down until Brady's dad comes in and is like, let's get him. And then it's like, oh, shit, I lost him. Like, O'Quinn's like, fuck, now I can't do anything. And then it's as they're all getting in their cars to drive out to the woods that Everett McGill is like, please. But Terry Quinn's like, forget it, man. We've lost them. They're gone. They're going to go crazy here. Yeah. And so, I do like all the people running out to the woods then, going like, let's go get this psycho.
Yeah.
Until they step into some dense fog. Well, actually, before that, you do have one guy just walking into a bear trap, which is just a nasty bit of business that really doesn't affect anything.
I will say also the if it's the main woods, then I guess I'll buy the fog, but the fog is so Hollywood and is so set It looks like it's done on a soundstage. The fog is ridiculous.
The fog is very stagey fog, like the way it's layered in the thing, and it's just at the bottom of the scene.
And it's very thick, but it goes up to like people's waist, so it's like they're wading through fog. I'm like, But anyway, so they're out in the woods and they're breaking up into pairs, of course.
Yeah. I do like when they step into the fog and they're like, oh man, this fog is so dense.
And they hear the growling. And
trying to locate where it's coming from, right? And then somebody finally goes, oh my God, it's in the fog. It's beneath us.
Yeah.
Bottom.
That's okay.
Bottom. This is very Jaws because you're replacing the water with fog, and the thing is beneath you and grabbing people into the fog. And I do like the first guy. It grabs this guy under the fog and then just shoots him out up against a tree right after. I was like, oh shit. This werewolf is about killing more than eating people. Because this is also a werewolf who will proceed to beat Lawrence Tierney to death with a bat.
That's one of the surprising bits. And I think they were thinking that was going to be blackly funny, and in a way it is. But
well, they need to establish Tierney and his bat a little bit more, I think, if they wanted that to land.
They did.
More, yeah.
But there's the other old man in the group who's like, I'm kind of freaking out a little bit, and the old woman next to him says one of my favorite lines in the movie.
She's great.
She goes, "Are you about to make lemonade?"
It's gonna be a big old batch of fudge. No, I wish that was the
make lemonade.
That is great. I like that old lady. She's not in the movie much, but she makes an impression.
She survives.
She does. But I'm also going like maybe don't bring the old lady out in the woods. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe not. But yeah. So the werewolf is making hay out of these people.
Oh, is he ever, man?
And Tierney's like, I'm. Fuck this thing, and he takes that bat and he's wailing away. And again, we're not seeing full body werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
This is we see his arm coming up, beating down. Tierney's arm is swinging that bat, so he's getting some licks in on that werewolf, and we actually hear the werewolf going ow, like ow.
Oh, son of a bitch! God damn it, take it easy.
So in other words, we can rest assured that Tierney got some wax in, but then there's a little bit of a shift, and suddenly we see the werewolf arm come up with the bat, and then the werewolf is beating Tierney down, and it's just
that's the moment where I really was watching this last night going, what? I don't think I've ever seen a werewolf grab a weapon before.
This
what does he need to? He's got claws and teeth.
I know, but this is also apparently a werewolf. There are a few hints that this werewolf has human intelligence.
Yeah, it's not like he becomes the animal. He still is Everett McGill, just now in werewolf form, it seems like.
Yeah.
They're not doing the he's not like Lon Chaney Jr. waking up and going, what did I do last night? You know?
Yeah. Instead, he wakes up going, good, I took care of that woman who almost killed herself.
Yeah. Meanwhile, was that on here that we were talking about the idea that he's going to be pooping people out?
Yeah,
I think that was on. Well, I can't remember. I think that was on here. We're talking about the idea of like, oh shit, there's going to be pieces of humans in his.
We were talking about that with Lon Chaney Jr. And the whole idea is just, look, I mean, the stuff that you've ingested isn't going anywhere. It doesn't magically disappear because you turn back into Lon Chaney Jr. So you're probably gonna be shitting out like human bones.
Yeah. Oh, that's a femur.
Yeah. The next morning's got to be rough. For poor Larry Talbot.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh no. Oh yeah. Oh, that was part of that Watchmen. Oh no. Oh yeah. Oh, did I eat a woman last night? Because that's
So the only difference is Everett McGill is doing that, but he's going like, oh yeah, that's a part of him. Yep.
Yeah. There's Brady's rib.
Yeah. Oh, those are definitely kid bones.
I remember that movie, Brady's Rib. Oh no, sorry, that was Adam's rib. Sorry,
Adam's rib. Yeah. Brian's song, Adam's rib, Clara's heart.
Clara's. Man, we could build a person with all these movies.
Doesn't anyone remember the Neil Patrick Harris Whoopi Goldberg vehicle, Clara's heart?
Everyone does.
Yeah, it's a classic, right?
You add in Donovan's brain and my left foot, we could almost build a person.
Dr. Frankenstein's going, I love all these titles.
But anyway, so
So I write down what it seems like we're at another funeral, and I was laughing because there are now like 4 coffins up there all at once. This is the dream
that
sequence.
huge posse, basically almost the entire posse got wiped out.
The idea
by
that they would have a joint funeral made me laugh. Like, we'll just bury them all at once. But no, this is, of course, the dream sequence where
it starts going more surreal. It starts like you're actually watching a real scene. And
we have, man, the guy who played Brady's father really fucking going for it, of course, now because he's off the leash with this funeral sequence. Or with this dream sequence where at first I thought, oh my God, when he's just like, oh, ain't nobody gonna save us, or whatever he's going about.
Yeah, and then he starts turning into a werewolf, and then other mourners start turning into a werewolf, and the woman who's the organist in the church, who we've already seen in other funeral scenes, she's now a werewolf, and then she's banging away at the organ as a werewolf lady, and
like I said,
I'm laughing my ass off.
In isolation, I'm enjoying the scene, but going, this really doesn't need to be in the movie.
She's playing that organ like the guy in Reefer Madness. It's like huge arm movements, and the priest is going, "Oh no, everyone's turned into a werewolf!" Oh,
yeah. Once again, I kind of wish that was how the movie ended. Actually, it's just they're all werewolves, man. That wouldn't make sense with anything we've seen, but I still like that idea, and maybe that idea is in something I'm working
John,
on.
you say that about most films.
Yeah,
is that you'd prefer almost all films to end with every character
they're
turning
all
into a werewolf.
Well, I said I don't want to spoil anything, but I may be working on something where that could be the case that happens.
You're like, hey, look, I love Barefoot in the Park.
Yeah,
it's delightful romantic comedy.
Yeah,
but the end of it should be all of them turning into werewolves.
Yeah, or at least just Redford. The clues are there.
He does go crazy in a park at the end of it.
That made me think. Yeah, this guy. That guy's a fucking werewolf if I've ever seen one. How come Redford never played a werewolf?
No, but he did play the Spectre of Death.
Oh well, sure.
In Twilight Zone. A classic.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. So everybody turns into a werewolf, and then Everett McGill wakes up in a sweat and going, "Oh my God, that's right, I'm a werewolf."
Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah, I forgot I'm a werewolf. Because one of the things where it's like, what, he forgot he was a werewolf?
No, but it could just be his like conscience getting to him or something, and it's also trying to throw us off.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
They continue trying to like go, you didn't see that coming, did you? Him being the werewolf, and all of us going, no, we all saw it coming.
Yeah. I mean, it is the it is the Roger Ebert thing about like I pretty much figured out who was the werewolf from the second he came on screen.
Right.
Yeah, it's there because by process of elimination, right? Busey's not going to be the werewolf. And who else is going to be? What, Terry O'Quinn? No, probably not. It's got to be the Reverend, who, like I said, right from his eulogy, you're like, oh, something's a little weird about this guy.
Yeah,
and that's good actually. That's one of those things where it's not surprising, but I like seeing Everett McGill play a werewolf.
I'm down for it. But basically, at this point, Marty only he knows or suspects it's a werewolf.
Yeah.
But doesn't know who it is.
And he's real bummed that the fireworks display has been canceled, man. And he's bitching.
Yeah, and this is months later. This is like, I guess this would have been an end of summer fireworks thing.
I guess so,
we're past July 4th.
Yeah, because we saw the July 4th parade, right?
Now, but now the entire town is... the reason the fireworks are canceled is the town is basically shutting down. The sheriff has issued curfews. Yeah. Too many people are dying. And people are leaving town, and we hear the radio guy go, the sheriff urges people not to run away from town, but just stick to the curfews and you'll be fine.
Or calmly walk out of town at the very least. Please don't run.
And don't worry about, you got nothing to worry about as long as you stay inside. Okay, yes, one woman was attacked in her home, in her bedroom, but other than that,
come on, werewolves.
And the reason we never saw the little girl again is basically as soon as her dirtbag dad was killed, is her remaining family, they took off, which means Corey Haim ain't got no lady.
Well, because I do like that scene where he's all pissed off and Busey's like, hey man, you gotta have a reason to be all right. This guy, he took your best pal, he made your best gal move away, and worst of all, he canceled that fireworks show.
Right. So Uncle Red's going to make it up to him. They're
Yeah.
having a family barbecue.
Oh, I've never said no to a barbecue in my life.
It's very true in this movie. And
Load me up with some more ribs.
And he has spent all day apparently, or was that earlier that he made the new silver bullet? Or is it here?
It is here, and then
no, it was earlier he made the new silver bullet. Here is where he says, "Don't let on, but I got you all these fireworks."
No, I have this written down here.
Okay,
he's complaining to him about that. He goes, "Oh, you must be feeling pretty bad about the things we mentioned, right?" He goes, "But don't worry, I got you a little something." And he opens up the garage, and he's like,
"There's the new silver bullet."
So it goes. He shows him the silver bullet. Then they eat dinner. Then after dinner, he gives him the fireworks. He gives him two gifts here.
Yes, okay. Man, what a great day Marty has had.
I am just giving you tons of dangerous shit, kid.
Exactly. So after dark,
when
everyone's gone to bed, we see that Marty is quite capable of just with his arms getting out of his second floor bedroom.
Yes.
Climbing down, getting into his brand new silver bullet, taking his fireworks.
Yeah. You don't want to talk about Busey just devouring pie? We can
This looks a little
Load me up
sad
with another piece of pie.
Fireworks are fun, but he goes out to just the bridge over the lake
Busey
and
does
is setting them off
Busey
himself.
does tell him, "Hey, if you're gonna take them out, don't go too far from the house, because there is a psychopath about."
Yeah. But he has gone alone in the middle of the night. So he's out on the bridge firing off fireworks by himself.
Yeah.
And enjoying it.
Oh yeah.
But then
having a grand old time, which is like
then we hear some
by himself.
Boom boom.
Yeah.
Boom boom.
Uh-oh. And here comes a werewolf, man. But luckily, in that bag is a bottle rocket.
A bottle rocket.
Which he aims so fucking well. He takes this werewolf right in the old eye. And you want to talk about something that doesn't look good? Is this werewolf costume and makeup and the werewolf going, "Arr!" and grabbing its head. I was like, oh, no.
Yep, this is our first good look at that face. And I was like, oh, no.
Yeah. It's not great.
It's not good at all. But still good on you, Marty, because you got him right in the eye, and that's gross and cool.
Mm-hmm.
And he's able to get home. He escapes.
Yeah.
He tells his sister Jane.
Yeah.
And for the sake of efficiency with the storytelling, it's like, you know what? It's a crazy story, but I believe you.
Mm-hmm. Well, she goes, I believe. She sort of believes he believes it. She goes, I decided to believe him, sort of her like role.
I decided to believe him, and then I decided I would spend my entire day going through the entire town looking for someone with one eye.
Yeah, because that's the whole thing. Because she's going around collecting cans and bottles.
Yeah, for the church, and that's her excuse.
This scene might drag on a little long, because there's a lot of like, turn your head.
That thing in the barbershop where she goes up to the guy who's got the towel wrapped around him.
Yeah, it's Bill Smith.
And it just really drawn out because she goes, "Is that you under there?" And he doesn't respond. I was like, weird. Is he asleep? And then we find out he's not. Why didn't the guy go, "Yeah, I'm under here"?
Yeah. He's like, I'm tired of this.
So it's this whole thing of her creeping up, and then she unwraps his face, and she's still talking to him. He still doesn't respond. It's not till she exposes the fact that he has both eyes and goes, "Yeah, it's me. Did you get a good look?" You're like, why were you being silent? What the fuck is your anyway? Doesn't matter. She then goes, "Oh well, that was time wasted. I'll take these cans and bottles to the church." Yeah. And the priest has got his back to her. "Yeah, go ahead and put them in the garage there, Jane." And then when he goes in there, when she goes in there, she finds the broken bat. We actually, he's half turned, so we can only see the one eye. And then the camera pans around him, and you see he's got a patch or one eye, and the script goes, "Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da, ba-da," or the score goes, "Ba-da, ba-da, 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 ba-da." He's a werewolf. He's a werewolf. He's a werewolf. In case you didn't get it. Yeah. Werewolf. Well, also, a chroma key comes up of just the word werewolf with an arrow pointing at him, and that helped. And then it actually, before it reveals that, it takes a pause, and a clock comes up and says, "Have you figured it out?
who the werewolf is.
Do you need to take a werewolf break? And I said, no, actually, I don't have to pee right now.
Yeah.
And it all worked out.
Yeah. I didn't drink anything because I didn't want to miss a minute of this thing, despite the fact I could also pause it. But
I don't want to miss a thing. And suddenly that song
don't
starts
want to miss a thing.
So but yeah, she didn't see that. She goes in the place to put the bottles, and she finds the broken peacemaker bat, and she goes, "Oh, yeah, I think I know that something's up."
Well,
and
then she discovers it. By the way, she discovers the peacemaker bat because a mouse scares her, and she falls into a pile of cans that has the bat in it. She's way too scared of that little mouse.
I'd be scared
if a little mouse ran out.
They're disgusting.
It's so not a disgust. It's clearly like a pet store mouse. It's the cutest little thing that runs out.
Nope. Sorry, I know that's your own thing. I found it terrifying.
I think mice are
biggest scare of the film.
But she does go and throws herself back, and I was like, Jesus Christ! It might go like, oh, that's just a mouse. Yeah.
Then he walks in and he's like, "Are you okay, Jane?"
You having
and
any
it's also the way
here?
he's playing it is like he instantly knows.
Yeah.
Somehow that she knows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that werewolf sense,
Because he's doing the whole like, why don't you tell your brother I said hello?
Yeah, and he goes, and she goes,
like, I sure will.
And she's like, I need to get home. He goes, I'll give you a ride. She's like, no, I'm good. And then that's when he's like, tell your brother hello.
Yeah. And that I'll see him on Sunday.
Tell Michael Corleone hello. It's got that.
Give my best to the Godfather. So I guess he's the werewolf.
Yeah.
This is where that turned around for me, where it suddenly became
what
clear.
What are they gonna do about it? Well, it's time for Corey Haim to get out the newspapers and magazines and make himself a good old ransom note. What the fuck, man? Why is this their thought? And they send him a letter of a letter with cutout letters from the newspaper and magazines
that says, "I know who you are. I know what you are.
Yeah,
do us all a favor and kill yourself."
This is the one beat in the movie where I'm like, I don't know about this decision. That's a weird one. Because also, it's gonna get back to
if you were too afraid to confront him yourself.
Why don't you just kill yourself, you big stinking werewolf?
It's possible they were playing on what they assume is guilt over being a werewolf.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we are coming off of things like American Werewolf in London you should kill yourself if you're a werewolf, and he, David Naughton thought about it.
Yeah,
he was gonna slit his wrist with a tiny little pocket knife.
I didn't find anything weird about this at all. This is again all on you, man. I think this movie is hitting all the beats,
hitting every beat, man.
Every single.
Well, and I like the narration though, where they go, well, then we sent him another one and another one. We just kept sending him letters. We were flooding this guy, and then it cuts to evil Everett McGill reading the letter and crumpling it up and being like, I'm gonna get them kids.
Yeah, they've pushed the wrong werewolf.
Yeah. You're screwing with the wrong werewolf tonight.
Then we have I actually did like the delightful scene of the kid stopping at the gas station.
That was
to refill his silver
That
bullet.
was cute. And he goes, and the guy's like, you want me to change the oil on that thing too? Maybe wash your windshield? You're in a wheelchair.
He's playing with him.
Yeah.
He goes, you want me to check the driver's bullshit level?
Yeah.
And he laughs. And the kid's like, we're friends.
Yeah. We are friends. I thought that was an unnecessary line. I did think that was
a lot.
I thought that was a little on the nose.
Yeah.
We have a good time.
And we're laughing.
We are laughing, yeah. It just turns into Anchorman.
It turns into Anchorman all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So then he's scooting along in the Silver Bullet, which is the name of his cool wheelchair.
Yeah.
And Everett McGill is not a werewolf. He's just in his car, but he says, "You know what?
I think
it's about time to kill."
This is an awful choice on Everett McGill's part, right?
Well, yeah, especially since it's also a small town.
Yeah.
It's broad daylight. and he has a recognizable car, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to run over the kid in the wheelchair.
Well, he's going to use his car to push him off this bridge, seems to be the plan, right?
Yeah.
And
he doesn't succeed.
No, he does not succeed. It turns into an awkward chase. And this is where I thought, Jesus Christ, how fast does this little go-kart wheelchair go? He's outrunning this car. He's doing like 40 down this road in this thing. Good Lord, Busey. How fucking irresponsible are you, you drunken maniac?
Dude, that's our Uncle Red.
Hey, man, that's just Uncle Red, all right? I told him be careful. That should be enough. And also, in classic Busey fashion, don't wear a helmet, because he's not wearing a helmet during any of this.
He is not wearing a helmet.
I was concerned about that more than the werewolf.
He lucks out in a weird way. Like, there's this sort of quasi-boarded up, sheltered bridge.
Right.
So he gets into that little closed off, whatever you would call it, shack on the bridge. And it looks like Priest is just going to ram through there and kill him, but there is someone nearby. And so Marty screams out, like, it's me, I'm in here, I'm trapped. And the priest is like, on second thought, I should leave now. So Marty is okay.
Yeah.
He goes home and he tells his sister and the uncle, who doesn't believe him. But then the uncle says he sees that the silver bullet did get dinged.
Yeah, what? And he goes,
hey,
what color is that Reverend's car? And she goes, it's a blue
goes,
car.
Blue. And then she points and he goes, that color blue.
And suddenly we're in a Columbo episode or something. That's a total act break moment, right? In fact, that color blue.
And I love that it even gets a follow-up later when
O'Quinn is
Busey tells the sheriff.
Yeah.
He's like, I know this is a crazy story, but here's the thing, and here's all the evidence. He goes, that is an insane story. Then the sheriff goes and checks out the priest's car, and he sees the exact same. He sees the silver of the silver bullet on the priest's car, and he's like, God damn, I guess it's true.
And then when he stands up, there's Everett McGill going, can I help you with something, Sheriff? And you know what I like about unfortunately he will die here. Terry Quinn pulls his piece, though. He's like,
he does.
You're coming down to the station with me, pal. I think you tried to murder a kid. Unfortunately, Terry Quinn will also get it with a beating of this bat. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He takes, unfortunately, I was like, God damn, I wanted to see Terry Quinn defeat this werewolf, but whatever, man.
I know you did.
He'll get his spotlight in a couple years in The Stepfather, which, as we said, is great. Terrible remake,
he's the bad guy there.
Yeah, terrible remake. Don't recommend that remake.
I've never seen the remake.
I mean, it's not.
I never saw the sequel.
I never saw the sequel either. The remake, I mean, it's not like awful, but it's just like, why? That movie was good.
Yeah.
You don't need to. That didn't need to be. That wasn't like, man, I'm just waiting for somebody to improve on Stepfather. It's a good little cult movie. All right, so Terry Quinn is out of it now. And then this is the point. He not only beats him to death with the bat, he wolfs out first, then beats him then grabs another one. I do like a werewolf who's like, I need a little help here. I need a weapon. It's not.
I like it a little bit. I mean, I prefer werewolves just using what they got, but at the same time, a human thinking werewolf that weirdly is like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to use this bat. Is a little.
That's how much I hate you, pal. I'm not even going to use my werewolf abilities to kill you. All right, you're going to get killed with this bat.
You're not even worth me shitting out tomorrow morning. I'm just going to beat you like any normal, psycho would do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that is a weird take. But yeah.
So then this is where Busey's like, well, goddamn, maybe it is a werewolf. I don't know, man. Crazier things have happened. And this is where he takes off his medallion and goes, Uncle Red, I want you to make this into a silver bullet.
Yeah, Marty gives Uncle Red this medallion and says, make a silver bullet.
Yeah.
And then the sister goes, you might as well use my crucifix also.
Mm-hmm. Which I do like the crucifix because I like the holy imagery being made into the silver. We talked about how much I love that in Captain Kronos.
I think the medallion was a Saint Christopher.
It was, yeah. I mean, I like both of those. Is what because I do love like in Captain Kronos when he has the blade made of smelted crosses and so nice. Like that's cool, man.
But it is enough to make one bullet.
Yeah,
as we've said before. Because he goes to, isn't it nice that this little town has apparently a master weaponsmith?
Oh, because I mean they go on and on about this, and once again
in the narration, it's the lady narrating.
He could have just gone to a guy to make the bullet, but instead we have to really pump him up with this thing of he was more than a gunsmith. He was a master of weapons, and you're going like,
I know,
and also I'm going like, give me more of this guy. Once again, master of weapons. This guy's cool.
Well, I know, and you got Uncle Red saying it's for my nephew. He's gotten onto a Lone Ranger kick, and it's not even he's not gonna fire it. It's just like a keepsake. And the guy goes, mm-hmm.
Oh, I do.
But then the weaponsmith goes, "Are you sure you're not using this for a werewolf?"
Well, yeah, because when he gives it to him, he's like, he goes, I put in a half load of whatever so it'll fire straighter and he's like, well, it's not like what would a kid even fire a 44 caliber silver bullet at? And he goes, I don't know, maybe a werewolf. And I want to know more about this guy. And now actually I wish.
And he also goes, this is also possibly the greatest work I've ever done.
That is very Hattori Hanzo, right, from Kill Bill, when he's this is the finest sword I've ever made.
This is not just a silver bullet. This is the finest thing I have ever made.
By the way, man, I really wanted sequels to this movie with Gary Busey, Monster Hunter, and this guy being his weapons maker.
Sure.
Hey, man. Hey, I'll tell you a thing or two there, Dracula. Come on. You want to go? You want to go, the Invisible Man? Let's do it.
But then they show the weapons maker guy is just at a normal lathe. And he just does one tomato steak. He goes, this is the finest work I've ever done. It's just a pointy stick, man. Yeah. It's just a pointy stick.
I got to say, goddamn, that is the best pointy stick I've ever seen in my life.
I've never seen a pointy stick quite as good as that. That is just fine.
That is incredible work. That is pure craftsmanship. I just love the idea of him doing Gilman, you and me, let's wrestle.
Let's wrestle.
We just had too many competent monster hunters, all right? I want a big, drunken southerner just being like, come on, let's do it, Bride of Dracula.
But isn't that kind of what, what was that thing called? Tucker and Dale versus Evil or whatever that thing was?
A little bit, kind of, and I guess by the end of that movie...
Dumb hillbillies fighting zombies.
Well, no. The plot of that movie is actually much more interesting, which is where they are thought to be the killers by the teenagers because through incident and accident, they're always near the slashing murders, though they have not committed it. Then in the end, they end up fighting the slasher. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a
I'm
fun
kind
movie.
of mixing it up with because there's a similar thing. It's got two names and it's versus Evil or something like
Hansel
that.
and Gretel Witch Hunters.
No, not
which
that. That one I know.
I do greatly enjoy for the Grindhouse pulp movie. It is though, to be fair.
Well,
I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying it's silly and fun.
I'll allow it, but counselor, you get one warning. Okay, I'll allow it this time.
But you better watch yourself, McCoy. So they make a silver bullet. That guy's very happy about it. And so they go, well, luckily our parents had won a trip on the night of the full moon, which just happened to be Halloween. But of course we come to find out, actually they never won a trip. I set the whole thing up to clear them out. And let's go kill a werewolf, kids.
Here's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, that all is great. Mm-hmm. He believes them. And good old Uncle Red.
It's werewolf killing time.
He provides this out. But he wants the kids there?
Hey, man.
Hey, man, if you're a real hero, you send the whole family away, and you're the guy sitting there with the gun who's going to kill the werewolf. What are the kids doing there?
I love the idea that he's like, well, you were the ones who found the werewolf. You got to see this thing through.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be here while I take care of this.
Yeah. Come on, kids. You're gonna want to see Uncle Red shoot a werewolf, right? Right? Or at least the neighbor's dog. I'm shooting something tonight. That's all that matters.
I don't care if it's a silver bullet or just a BB gun, but I'm shooting something tonight. Something's getting shot.
Words I completely believe the real Gary Busey has uttered.
Yeah.
one way or another, something's getting shot tonight.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's classic Busey. So they're all just waiting up, and they've all fallen asleep, and the television station is ending its broadcasting day with the flag and national anthem. Which by 76 was that still the thing? They were going off the air. That's once again feels very like 50s.
Well, in 76, I was 7 years old, so I was never allowed to stay up that late.
Right. I don't know.
But I think you're right, especially in smaller markets, like a small town, they wouldn't have anything to fill that air with. So
yeah, I guess, yeah. Then okay.
Signing off the air.
Yeah.
Not if you lived in New York.
Signing off our broadcasting day.
Yeah, and the national anthem, and then the test signal.
But then SCTV began its broadcasting day, right?
Yes, that's right. With people throwing their TVs out of the windows.
Oh my God, the goddamn best. We've long that comes up a lot too. Not as much as Arrested Development.
No. Though I wouldn't be able to choose between them, and don't make me. I love them both.
I never will. A lot of people from SCTV ended up on Arrested Development, which makes sense. Dave Thomas and his Mr. F. Let's see. So the werewolf does creep up. And Gary Busey only wakes up because he drops a cigarette on himself. Goes, oh goddamn!
Yeah.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah. That does smart. And Haim is like, Jesus Christ, because he's also sleeping with the gun in his lap.
Yep.
And
I also have to say though, if Uncle Red is the type of guy that we're being led to believe he is, that guy would not be, unless he was really drunk, he would not be snoozing by like 11 or whatever. That guy'd be up till 2 or 3, and then
they say it's 3 in the morning actually.
Oh, okay.
They do say it because he goes, werewolf ain't gonna come. Clearly, kids, it's already 3 a.m., which makes no sense.
Though we've already seen it kind of peek in the window, so that's bullshit.
Well, because then he's like, yeah, well, now I believe you. Sure, you saw a werewolf, honey. And for some reason he goes, what am I doing? There's no werewolf. Let me take this silver bullet out of the gun right now.
He's in the process of taking it out when the werewolf busts in.
Just breaks down the wall of this house and busts in behind him. Which sends the gun flying one way and the bullet rolling right into a vent, of course.
And also gives us really, unfortunately, clear looks at this awful makeup. For the rest of the movie, we're seeing way too much of one of the worst werewolf designs I've seen.
I will say, Gary Busey apparently during promotion for this movie was proud to say, I did all my own stunt work. This is all me being thrown around at the end. I said, let me at it. Let me at it.
And it was worth it.
Yeah. It really, Busey said he did. He said, I do. Okay, this is the trivia. He goes, I achieved this by running off camera, then jumping into an air compressed catapult, which would send me flying against the wall. He was very happy to discuss this.
Yeah, we didn't really need to know that, but it does look effectively like Gary Busey being thrown into walls.
He did actually cut himself on the breakaway mirror, so when his arm is bleeding after that is my real blood, sir.
Oh,
yeah,
impressive.
Yeah. Incredible. And I didn't see this here, but yeah, they do say. I said Everett McGill played a henchman in the main henchman actually in Under Siege 2: Dark Territory, following Gary Busey as the main henchman in Under Siege 1. That's a real piece of IMDb trivia. They love when two people from a movie end up not in the same movie but in the same franchise later.
Yeah, that's good to know.
I love the movie Under Siege, and I enjoy Under Siege 2: Dark Territory. Let's say that.
Okay, I'm not going to hold you to that, and I don't think anyone has written that down, but it is noted.
Yeah,
it's
it is
noted.
I think there's fun to be had with Under Siege 2, but I legitimately think Under Siege is a good movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Mostly
It's just
because
'cause
of Busey and Tommy Lee Jones. They're carrying that Seagal is terrible, of course.
I thought you were going to say it was because of what's her name?
Erica Eleniak.
There you go.
Yeah. Actually, it's because Cole Meany, Chief O'Brien, is one of the henchmen. Oh, by the way, that's what I was going to say. The composer for this movie, Jay Chataway, I was like, why do I know that name? That name sounds so familiar. It's because he ends up going on to become one of the main composers for the Star Trek franchise. So he worked on like all of the series. So I've been seeing his name my whole life on those shows under Music By.
Well, I hope he got better, because this is shit.
Here's the thing that's interesting about the Star Trek shows. He is working from Jerry Goldsmith's themes.
Yeah.
So he is just sort of carrying and restructuring those. I'm not going to say he didn't do anything original with those, but the Star Trek shows have a sound that was established by a legitimately great composer, and then he's just sort of remixing those themes into different places.
Well, he should stick to that.
Yeah. Because, all that stuff is great. Because you can't improve upon that Goldsmith stuff. Anyway, so yeah, Gary Busey. I do love that Busey we do basically see what I want out of Gary Busey, Monster Hunter, which is him going to a werewolf and going, "You want to go, pal?"
Yeah. He's actually trying to, and he's doing the hero thing and going, "You guys get out," because he knows he's blown his chance, because the bullet's gone and whatever. But Marty has seen the bullet roll into a heating grate in the floor.
Yes.
And the sister has retrieved the gun.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those typical, like, can they do it in time things? Because the werewolf is clearly about to tear Busey apart.
Movie thriller structure. No question about that.
Right. And we see Marty's fingers, little skinny hand reaching for and he does finally get a hold of the bullet.
All of this stuff is pretty good. It's just that the fucking werewolf looks terrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he does finally get a hold of the bullet, pulls it out, hands it to the sister. Sister puts it in the gun.
Yeah.
And then
it's
Marty.
It's Corey Haim with a fucking bullseye of a kill shot right in the good eye. Right through that good eye. I do like that. Once again, wish the makeup is better, but like this on paper.
This dude, this little kid,
oh my god,
has gotten 2 eye shots. One with a fucking firework and the other with an actual bullet. This kid should be a sniper. He should be American
This is what I'm
sniper.
saying. In my Gary Busey Monster Hunter story, he's got the sidekick of the kid in the wheelchair. He's a crack shot.
Ah, nice.
The girl does the research, and the legwork investigations. Dude, I'm going to write this as a comic book. This I'm writing as a comic book. This is happening.
All right.
I can't legally use any of these characters, but I will use these types.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will read it.
Yeah. Yeah. Expect that script soon.
All right.
It's maybe the 5th comic book idea that has come out of this show for me.
Yes, and you need to get to work.
I do. Yeah. So we got to wrap this up because I got to get typing on this thing.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So Busey survives somehow. Everybody's alive here actually, and Haim ends the movie with this zinger where he goes like, "Oh no, my legs! I don't think I can walk." Oh, kid, that's good stuff. That is gold right there. All right.
Well, his sister is traumatized, and so he's trying. I think it's a noble attempt. He's like, "I'm gonna break the tension," and he goes, "Oh my god!" In that last. Because she goes, "Are you okay?" He goes, "I don't know, but I think something happened to my legs." And she goes, "What?" And he goes, "I don't think I can walk."
Oh,
and you're like, "Oh, you haven't
kid.
been able to walk for a long time."
Oh, it's great because he's already paralyzed. Oh, I love it.
Good.
I love
so
it, kid.
Good.
Oh, so by the way, just as a note on something here, Stephen King, the #2 best-selling author of the 20th century. because
okay.
when you go before that, you get people like Shakespeare and Agatha Christie and stuff like that.
Yes.
So
yes.
when you get to
and God.
Yeah, the Bible and stuff like that.
Bible's always number one.
Brendan, do you have a guess as to who beats Stephen King? Who's number one above Stephen King?
I'm gonna go with J.K. Rowling.
Ooh, interesting. No, and I think only because we're talking about sheer number of books, right? It is Danielle Steele.
Yeah, she would have been in the running. I would have said Danielle Steele. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So Danielle Steele, Stephen King, Mary Higgins Clark, Tom Clancy, John Grisham, and of course the ubiquitous James Patterson. But he kind of cheats because his name is on a bunch of stuff that he didn't necessarily
that's
write.
true of Danielle Steele too. A lot of those names have factories of ghostwriting.
And look, I love a Patterson, man. Patterson is a go-to for me because you talk about like an airplane read. I can whip through a Patterson book in like one sitting.
I won't forgive him ever or read another one of his books because of what he did to The Shadow. So,
The Shadow is a disaster. Oh God.
We don't have time, or I don't have the energy to discuss it. So we'll let it go.
No.
And basically then we have a wrap up narration from the grown up sister Janie.
Yep. Bring it home, Janie. Bring it home.
Yeah, and she basically just says, I'll never forget what happened.
Well, how could you?
Yeah,
you know werewolves exist.
And it's also the thing of because both of the brother and sister say, I love you. And she's like going, we didn't say that enough, but I always felt it.
Especially when he died the next year. What? No.
Yeah.
I would have loved the addition of, he died of other stuff.
Especially when he died, when the mummy got him.
But that's a story for another day.
What?
Oh my God.
A minute.
A shameless sequel set up. And all was peaceful in our town until those vampires arrived. But that's a story for another day. Wait, what? Hold on.
The next movie called Ashen Steak.
Yeah. Hey, come at me, you blood-sucking motherfuckers.
Oh God. I can't wait for your comic.
Dude,
I'm
not joking. I'm going to write that. I love the idea of hillbilly drunken monster hunter and his kid sidekicks.
But you also want to relaunch Captain Kronos, and there's so many things you want to do.
Dude, you have no idea the extensive ideas I have for a Captain Kronos trilogy. I have an entire arc for Captain Kronos over a 3-movie thing.
Dude,
each movie takes place in a different time period because he lives forever.
Yeah, but don't do that thing. Don't do that thing where you just stock up ideas and never write them. No. I will punch you in the face, which is something I'm known to do anyway.
I know. I am dangerously close to writing my Captain Kronos movie.
Okay.
The first one. And I have casting ideas, which I'll talk to you off mic about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, should we recommend people watch Silver Bullet? I think this is, I'm not going to say you have to, but I'd say, I think this is enjoyable if you know what you're getting into.
I'd say this is a light recommend.
I think light is good, yeah.
If you're being a werewolf completist, this is
if you're a Stephen King fan, I think definitely check this out because it is a good King story, as we said. If you like,
and it is cast well. Like I like
that's what I was gonna say. Also,
character face in it.
If you like some of the other movies of the time with this, if you do like a Poltergeist or some of that other kind of stuff, I think you could enjoy this, knowing it is lesser, but still, it's totally watchable. I got through this with no issue last night. I did not have to split this up. I really just sat through it. It's as we were saying, it's a pretty breezy, brisk, like generally fun movie, even if not all.
Again, anything compared to Howling 2.
Yeah,
your sister is a werewolf.
She sure is.
Is better. she is.
Yeah.
I've met your sister, and I have been clawed in the face by her.
Yeah, so. That's pretty typical of her. We got to get her on this show. She likes monster movies.
She needs to let us know which one she wants to guest on.
Actually,
I'm looking forward to having Elliot back.
That's in 2 weeks. Elliot will be back on the show. But first, we watch something next week on our own, and we've talked about this often on the show. I know you're not a fan, and I've never seen it, but we are watching The Bride next week on the show. I did look. 119-minute runtime. Jesus Christ. How dare you? How dare you, movie?
It is trying to be a prestige
yeah.
Frankenstein
That's
film.
the sense I get. And you can tell because Sting is in it.
And Sting looks great.
Yep.
Jennifer Beals, lovely, but then again, Jennifer Beals, still to this day,
Holy
a stunning
God,
woman.
she's more beautiful than women half her age.
I know.
Yeah. I don't know how she does it.
But the best thing is Clancy Brown as the creature.
Oh,
but,
that's
that's my
casting.
memory.
I haven't even seen it, and
Yes.
that is just I hear that and I go, "Oh, that is perfect." He is
Yes.
exactly who I want. I still kind of want Clancy Brown to play Frankenstein's monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's my memory of it, and I haven't watched it since it came out in the theater, and that's the first and only time I ever saw it.
So yeah, we'll talk about it though next week on the show. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Brendan Jones.
And remember, there are such things as monsters.
You know, I got the Academy Award for playing Buddy Holly. I really think I should have gone up for this. I think Uncle Red was my shot, was my big shot.